How's it going, guys? And welcome back to FNN Sports Take with me, Kasey Hudson. I hope everybody is having a fantastic short week. We just came off of the exciting Memorial Holiday weekend, and of course that means that we're one step closer to being to the weekend even sooner. Isn't that fantastic? So, as of lately, we have been kicking off with the NFL, and it just feels right. So we're going to continue to do that. In NFL news, we did talk about the fact that yesterday, NFL owners were supposed to be participating in a very important conference call. There has been no information regarding that conference call and how it went in terms of the new rules and protocols that are supposed to be going into play to have a return to play plan. But as soon as that information comes out, you guys know we'll get that out to you. But speaking of owners, Miami Dolphins owner says there will definitely be a 2020 NFL season. No brainer. The NFL released the full 16-game schedule about a month ago, and that's always a hopeful indication that we have a season to look forward to, of course. But the real question is, will there be fans in the stands? Well, Miami Dolphins owner says, yeah, as of right now, we're planning to have fans in our stands. He doesn't see any reason not to. He says the NFL is ready to go. From the time that it is now to when the NFL season actually takes off, he feels like that's plenty of time to have the right protocols and procedures in play to keep everybody safe and sound while enjoying their sports live and in person. And, you know, we've kicked this around a bit to the fact that they'll probably grant about 20 to 35% access to fans. So no, we're not going to pack out a 65,000 stand audience, but at least some people will get to partake in the live action and mix it up. Now we know Flacco is heading back to the East Coast, signing a one-year deal with the Jets and being back up to Sam Darnold. Well, we also know that he is coming off of a pretty significant surgery in April. We were wondering what that was going to look like in terms of his return, and he spoke out on it himself and said he's not ready. He said he's not sure when the start date's going to be. He's just working every day to get closer to being healthy and to returning, and there's really no push coming. As for medical sources, they say that they're thinking that he'll be ready about September, which is right on time for the season. Now, Jalen Ramsey, we know he left the Jaguars and went to the West Coast to play alongside the Rams. He wants to continue playing for the Rams. So him, his agent, and the Rams are in negotiations in terms of a contract extension. Ramsey did us the honor of posting a video on social media discussing this contract extension and how things are going. He said, the Rams know where I stand. I think it's all a matter of time at the end of the day. It will be handled. That's all that matters. I know where I stand. They know where I stand, and they've been in contact with my agent. I think we're all on the same page. So far, it sounds like it's looking good. If everybody's on the same page, I think we will see a contract extension in Ramsey's near future, as we hope. Now, if you guys joined us last Wednesday, you had the pleasure to be alongside of us as we interviewed Tampa Bay Bucks tight end Tanner Hudson. We know that Hudson is an up-and-coming tight end in the league, and he will be playing alongside Brate and Gronkowski this coming season. It was great to catch up with him as well as his lovely girlfriend, Carly, and they gave us a lot of insight as to what he's looking forward to, what he's been up to in quarantine, and you guys had fan questions, but of course now that everybody is on Zoom and all the digital stuff at the same time, technical issues is a thing, and we actually had a little hiccup ourselves when it came to fan questions, but we still got those questions over to Tanner, and he was amazing at responding to these and letting us recite them back to you guys. So here we go. Fans wanted to know, and I'm sure anybody that comes in contact with a player for the Tampa Bay Bucks wants to know, are we going to Super Bowl or not? What's up? You guys have a super team right now. Tanner said, we have a great chance if we stick together. That's very well said. Now, does Hudson have any game day rituals? He said no, he's just kind of a go with the flow kind of guy, but he does stick to a pregame meal, which is 8 ounces of steak as well as sweet potatoes. As a tight end, what is his favorite route to run? Hudson said, shake. You have options on which way you can go. Many athletes, as we know, like to have that creative opportunity on the field, so that makes sense. Any advice for up-and-coming tight ends? He says, do your job, whether it's blocking or receiving. Do your job. If you guys were tuned in when we got to talk to Hudson last week, you know that we asked him in this day and age, what a tight end, or in general, tight end position has always been one of the most versatile on the field if you actually pay attention to what they do. Now, 2016 to 2017, the tight end position got a little funky. The guys got a little shorter and a little faster, and we started calling them hybrids versus pro style. So that's great advice for up-and-coming tight ends if you think about it, because you don't know what you're going to be asked to do nowadays. Depending on the system and the team that you belong to, just do your job. That's very well said, Hudson. What tight ends did you look up to growing up, and was Gronk one of them? He said Greg Olsen was one of the tight ends they looked up to the most, but yes, he feels like he can learn a lot from Gronkowski. What's he been doing during quarantine? Not much has changed in a small town. He just golfs, fish, hunts, and works out. Does he think he'll be playing more this season? He says, you always want to play as much as possible, but I just like to stay in the moment and control what I can one day at a time. If we weren't in quarantine, how different would his off-season look? He says, really not much. Maybe travel a little more. Everybody wants to know, I'm sure. How exciting is it to have Tom Brady as your quarterback? He said, it's just amazing to have a chance to learn from the GOAT. I'm sure everybody on that team is ready to be a sponge and soak up Tom Brady as much as possible. The kicker here is that we saw a lot of memes circulating in relation to the chemistry between Tanner Hudson and Ryan Griffin. And somebody asked, will you gel as much with Brady as you do with Griffin? He says he's just looking for an opportunity to prove himself that Brady can trust him just as much as Griff does. Will he adopt the Gronk spike? He laughed at that one, saying, haha, I think the spike is just going to be an in-the-moment celebration for me if I get a chance. Now that Gronk's on the team, can you guys come up with a tight group end zone celebration? We know that Gronk likes to dance, so I'm sure he's going to get the whole tight squad on board. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw these boys doing something in the end zone. We saw this past year, the teams were getting really creative in that end zone with all kinds of skits, dances. I'm pretty sure we can look forward to something coming from Gronkowski and the Bucs tight squad. Now, what's his prediction of the winning record this year for the Bucs? He said, with the talent we have, we will have a chance to win every game. We just have to focus on not beating ourselves. That is key. We saw how much potential the Bucs had this past season with not half the talent that they're about to have now, but nearly half the talent they're about to have now. These guys have so much potential, but yes, in a lot of games last year, they beat themselves. That's amazing how he put that. If they don't beat themselves, then yeah, we're looking at champions on our hands here, guys. It's kind of a no-brainer. Who's his favorite teammate? Come on, who do we think he was going to say? He said my boy Griff. He keeps it real with me no matter what, and you got to appreciate having those guys in your corner when you're on a team. So it was an absolute pleasure having Tanner and Carly on our show with us last week. We are wishing Tanner the best up-and-coming 2020 NFL season. We know we're going to see him on the field alongside Bright and Gronkowski, doing some big things and continuing to make his stamp in his career in the tight end field. Now, we did discuss with him his community hero, who he supports, how and why. We will have that information circulating soon enough, and we'll let you guys know when that is up. Now, in other football news, college football at first was getting a lot of push and pull for not setting dates, but a couple days ago, we started having some conferences saying we're going to get the ball rolling here. We're going to get student athletes back on campus. So joining that bandwagon is now the Pac-12. They are allowing student athletes to do workouts, voluntary, of course. Beginning June 15th, all coaches, athletes, and staff must be tested. This will be mandatory in the Pac-12. As for another school that will be returning, Oklahoma is now set a July 1st return date, but they will be implementing the mandatory testing as well. And they took it up a notch. They actually secured housing on campus designated for students whom test positive so that they can quarantine safely, make sure that they're good to go, and then tested negative before they resume to their daily activities. So a lot to look forward to when it comes to football. It looks like they're making plenty of moves and notches. I'm just excited to hear what the owners say in terms of return protocol. But be sure to stick with us as we head to a quick commercial break and we chat NHL. Guys, we have a plan.
One of the things I love about Bass Pro is they have 3 great ways to shop. You can head into one of their awesome stores, visit BassPro.com, or get great gear from that catalog Johnny Morris sends out. Hi, here's your package. Bass Pro Shops, where commitment, passion, and the great outdoors all come together. Why would you shop anywhere else?
All right, guys, welcome back. So, look, we talked about this. Of all the professional leagues, the NHL is probably one of the most silent since everything paused on March 12th due to COVID-19. Well, NHL has a plan. Commissioner Bettman made an announcement at 4:30 yesterday on NBC Sports, of their return plan. They're foregoing the rest of the regular season was the big mic dropper of that situation, and it was confirmed and approved the 2014 playoff format. The unfortunate part here is that they're basing the teams that are going into this playoff format off of the point system and the standings that guys were at before COVID-19. So now, unfortunately, some guys as well as teams will have completely lost their 2020 season. That's not the best news for a lot of those teams. You saw some of these guys take to social media today to, address the fan base and say, we love you, we miss you, and we look forward to seeing you again when everything resumes in full regular season. The Red Wings were kind of a part of that. That was kind of a big deal there. The LA Kings made an announcement as well. So this is such a hard situation because you're trying to please and do the right thing amongst so many people and personnels, but it's really hard to kind of narrow down. Now, of course, things will be split into East versus West, and we're narrowing down from 8 to 9 sites of two cities that will be hosting, one hosting the East, one hosting the West, and for the East teams, the winners of qualifying rounds will either play Boston, Tampa, Washington, or Philadelphia. As for the West, winners of qualifying rounds will play either St. Louis, Colorado, Las Vegas, or Dallas. Now, as much as we are excited that our Tampa Bay Lightning will be in playoffs, they crushed it with multiple winning streaks, if you guys kept track of that season. Tampa Bay Lightning was actually one of 2 teams that were opposed to the 24-team playoff system. They just kind of were worried about the bye week coming out the gate and not being properly prepared, jumping into a rigorous postseason for hockey. We also got a chance to talk with Alex Killorn last week when we asked him, what's it like trying to stay in hockey shape outside of the arena? Hockey is a very intricate sport. They have very unique skills, and they're doing a lot on that ice. If you're not a hockey fan, that you actually would realize what's going on out there. So yeah, Killorn was saying that, motivation for the guys have really stayed up. But as for being able to stay in true hockey shape, it's tough if you can't be in the arena or on skates. These guys have to get back on these skates, measure their speed, measure their abilities. Half of these guys, if not more, haven't even had a stick in their hand since March. So I can understand the hesitation in terms of being thrusted into now playoffs. Like, you're not finishing out a season and kind of getting that warm up and then building up to the hype of postseason. You're diving right into postseason. And if you guys caught one of our first shows when we started FNN Sports Take, we got a chance to jump on a press conference call with Coach Cooper, who was saying, that's the thing he's most concerned about. You're going to go from walking to sprinting. We know that they're going to do more of a training camp style. These guys are supposed to be able to return to facilities within the next 2 weeks here. They said June. June starts this weekend. So we just pray for everybody's safety in terms of returning. We know that a lot of athletes got an opportunity to heal fully. So that'll be exciting to see what guys are on the roster when these teams hit the ice again. Hopefully Stammer will be good to go with the Tampa Bay Lightning. But as for now, these teams are heading to 2 cities to knock out the rest of their seasons in terms of playoffs and a Stanley Cup champion. Now, the NBA was actually one of the first teams to start announcing return plans, but things are getting a little lost in translation, or just lulled, as we would put it. 30 teams are now starting to lose the momentum in the return plans. There's been too much back and forth for these guys. And then we have some players speaking out to the fact that they don't even think they'll be participating in the return. Damian Lillard is amongst one of those guys, saying he's not up for participating in meaningless games. He's kind of frustrated to the fact that they're trying to throw together these playoff systems that just don't make sense for teams that are right on the cusp of having that opportunity to earn their playoff spot and a championship opportunity. We can totally understand this, but as we kind of said with the NHL, it's very hard to please all parties in a situation like this. Now, another return plan being discussed is this pool play layout between 16 to 30 teams. And then Mark Cuban has a proposal plan that he's bringing to the table that we will break down further on Friday once we get all the logistics on what Cuban thinks should be done and how he thinks the return plan should go. Now, for the MLB, we know that they were having some kickback in terms of athletes not wanting to do a 50-50 revenue split with owners. Well, they just got a little flustered in a different category, well, in the same category, but on a different proposal. Now they're saying that they want these guys, especially the higher paid guys in the MLB, to reduce their salaries to cover the lower paid athletes on the team. For example, what this would look like is a player set to make $20 million this year will actually make $6.5 million, so that the rest of that revenue can cover the basis of the lower paid athletes on the team. As fantastic as this is that they're looking out for everybody, if they got pushback on splitting revenue with owners, maybe they'll feel more compassionate to the fact of splitting it with teammates rather than owners. We don't know. We haven't really heard much feedback on how players are taking this information or this proposal, but as you guys know, as soon as we hear it, we will let you know. MLB did open up some facilities depending on what state they're in starting on Tuesday. So these guys got to get back out there, throw the ball around, start working out and warming up safely, of course. But we'll see what these guys say in terms of sharing their money. Again, you make nothing and you hold out and wait for the next season to come, and we don't know what the future looks like with COVID-19, or you make a percentage of money. The hard part here is they said that depending on the athlete or a lot of these higher paid guys, they think that they'll just take their money and not participate because they have enough to cover them throughout the year. So we don't know what it's going to look like for the MLB and their return, but they got to get their finances in order. Now, for the National Women's Soccer League, they're looking for a June 27th return, a 25-game tournament near Salt Lake City, Utah, to continue their 8th season since the pause due to COVID-19. They will actually be one of the first teams in the U.S. to continue playing or to resume actual games since the shutdown. So it'll be exciting to have them up and running and being able to watch that game. I'm sure it translated over from across the pond, as we like to say, because the German league's not getting any pushback. Things seem to be going quite well over there. So a lot of people are probably taking pages out of their book. And more soccer talk, we have the Premier League. Finally, one step closer to returning. They've had a lot of negotiations going on their end. First, people were not comfortable. They didn't think there were enough rules and regulations in place. Then they didn't want it to be overdone. Well, now we're making some leeway, supposedly. Wednesday, 20 teams unanimously agreed to return to the pitch and have contact training. So clearly these guys are feeling a bit more comfortable. Moving into phase 2 of preparation following discussions on Tuesday between players, managers, and league representatives designed to minimize the concerns for social distancing among COVID-19. So it's just really narrowing down these safety protocols. Again, German leagues have had no issue thus far that's been announced or displayed. Things have been going quite well, and their safety protocols are supposed to kind of resound throughout the rest of the country as well as into other leagues for soccer. So hopefully we'll see some Premier Soccer back on the schedule here shortly, but leeway is leeway, guys. Now stick with us through one more commercial break as we come back and have a bit of a heart-to-heart.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
All right, guys, welcome back. So not only as fans, depending on your position in sports, you know that as fans, as athletes, sports has a bigger role and a bigger platform than just getting all together and enjoying our favorite athletes in games. Now, athletes around the world have been in an uproar in the past 48 hours and taken to social media to voice their distaste over the death of George Floyd in Minnesota on Monday night. With the video circulating, many athletes and personalities began circulating content of their own, one of the famous kneeling photo of Colin Kaepernick, alongside the officer in his kneeling position on Floyd, and the caption being, "This is why." Kaepernick is still jobless in the league, but many athletes have spoken on behalf of Kaepernick to express their shock of him being out of the job. It's unfortunate that such extremities have to raise conversation and bring attention to details that need to take place in our world. But while justice is being explored in Minnesota, What can this mean for Colin Kaepernick and his future? These are discussions that will take place further and we will dive more into on Friday. But if you guys haven't seen it, head over to social media and check out LeBron James, Steph Curry, even Entourage's Jeremy Piven. A lot of people have spoken out on this situation. As we continue to navigate our way through COVID-19, this just stresses the fact and the importance of us being one nation and recognizing our strength and unity regardless of our backgrounds, guys. Everyone, please stay kind, be compassionate, be safe, and be smart. And we will see you guys back here Friday at 8 p.m.